Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today I was not ready. You know what? Before we get into spoilers, because this is a pretty recent movie, I was not ready. I'm surprised by how much I wasn't ready for this. And I guess we should probably say I had no idea there was a book until I saw the credits for this movie. Did you?
No, I did not.
Hmm. And
I
so
actually, well, yeah, we'll get there. Hold on. I'll wait. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say that, so we are talking as people who had no idea there was a book, and apparently a book trilogy, from what I found out.
Oh, wow.
And the one thing I
I
know
did.
is that this movie kind of combines the first and second books.
Mm.
So I'm not sure how much this is following it. I heard that the main message, which we will talk about, and there is something that's a part of it. And I know that apparently, again, I know that the movie is kind of a combination of the first and second books, but don't expect, like, if you know the books, don't expect actually talking about it. We have no idea. We are complete newbies. But this was an interesting one when it was announced, because this was like Chris Sanders's first movie in like a decade.
Yeah, I went into this one not realizing that it was Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlob back again, working together
Well,
again.
Din Dublin is just producing this time. He's just an executive producer.
It
But
still is them working together again, though, technically.
yeah, well, technically, you can say this about How to Train Your Dragon too, because Chris Sanders was executive producing those. But I get what you mean. But people did kind of talk about, oh, this is Chris Sanders's next movie. And to be honest, I kind of didn't want to know anything about it. I knew it was happening. I knew it was getting some positive attention before it came out. But I actually went into this completely blind. I haven't seen trailers. I haven't seen anything. I wanted to come into this as empty as possible, because the last time I kind of did that, it was with How to Train Your Dragon,
Mm,
and I think we both know how that turned out for me.
agreed.
So, I would just kind of wanted to go into this as blindly as possible, and holy shit. Like when I said I wasn't ready. It wasn't just in terms of like emotional baggage or something. I just wasn't ready for what I was gonna see. This is again, it kind of has this Chris Sanders flair, that
Mm,
you might know where the story is going, but he has this way of telling it that it has this way of telling it that you kind of feel, even if you think you know where it's going, there are twists that it turns your way that you're like, huh, that's interesting. And like, there's something about the pacing that just makes it feel right. That even if you've seen a story like this being told, it feels like you're kind of listening to that for the first time.
no, I agree with you. I think the pacing is a little bit too fast, and I will say, unfortunately for me, this didn't quite hit the same high as How to Train Your Dragon, the first one did, right?
Interesting.
But I still
Okay.
think it's really good. Like it's still definitely like, there's some moments where like, yeah, I teared up a little bit watching this one. Like this was really
Uh,
good. I would
Teared
recommend
up
it.
a little. I the fiance could testify. I sent her a pic of me after this. I was a wreck by the end.
And that's
I am
fair.
not ashamed. I am not ashamed to admit.
Fair.
But I guess just to really, before we start talking about this in length, I highly recommend this. If you haven't seen
Mhm.
it yet, go watch it like immediately.
Absolutely.
And this is the point where we start talking about spoilers. So spoilers in three, two, one. Still here? Okay. One of the things that I want to talk about that I wasn't really ready for. This movie goes dark, but like you can see that it's rated PG, but it's not like the Frozen PG or the Inside Out PG,
Mm.
where you're like, what?
Yeah.
This is like 80s PG. This is like they earn it. Like, you see things die, and there's some really adult jokes, not really adult, but like jokes that are a bit morbid
Mm.
in
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah.
when the possum goes, as a mother of seven, and then you hear a sound off screen and she goes, well, mother of six, so nonchalantly.
And then the child's like,
That,
I'm okay.
yeah, like the child, okay, yeah, but then it's also like there are moments in this one that's like, wow, this is dark. I was not expecting that. This is really dark, but I think the movie earns the right to be dark.
Well, it is like right, like it is portraying nature, right? And I do respect that it
Mhm.
like still portrays nature because these are wild animals, right? Even though we hear them
Yeah,
talk and things like that, we still this is still nature. They
and
are still wild
that's
animals. We still
this is
get
another
that,
thing.
which I respect
Yeah,
and
this
like.
And this is another thing I like, that, when you say we hear them talk, but really they don't start talking until Rose just, it just adapts into this environment that she learns to
Mm,
talk to them. They are basic. We hear it in English or whatever language you're watching the movie in, but she's technically talking in their own language.
yeah,
This is not, so in a way they also go out of their way to explain that, which is really cool.
yeah. No, I agree. I,
And
I also liked right that we did get a portion of like I want to say what like 25 minutes, maybe a little bit less,
yeah,
maybe a little
like
bit more of
something like that. That when
just
there's no
Roz
dialogue.
being the only one talking, and that's
Mhm.
it.
In a way, it kind of reminded me of Wally a bit. That you
Mm,
have the start, which is just Wally interacting with the environment, and there's no talking whatsoever.
yeah, agreed. I a part of me watching it did wonder while I was watching. That's like I wonder what this film would have been like if the animals never talked.
Mhm.
Because the second they
And
started talking, I did sat there and go, I wonder what that film would have been like, right? Like there's a part of me that
mhm.
wonders. I still think this film is really good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is a bad choice. It's just a
Mhm.
part of me does wonder what that film would have been like, and if that film could have carried the same weight, right?
I think I think to some degree you kind of needed some dialogue in there, at
I
least
would agree. For this one, yeah, I think
like,
so.
yeah, like, it's not like, I want to say, I don't know who made that comparison. I heard, because I did watch a few reviews before this, just for the sake of seeing what the general consensus is.
Mm.
And somebody said it doesn't feel like, something like The Land Before Time, or no, not The Land Before Time. Sorry, that what was that other dinosaur movie Disney made?
Oh, the Good Dinosaur.
No, no. Oh, wait, it was just named Dinosaur. A
Oh,
boy. A toy. Basically, that was supposed to be without any dialogue, and then executives were like, "No, no, we need voices, we need celebrities, put celebrities in there, we
mm.
need catchphrases, that kind of stuff." So it didn't feel that. It didn't feel like that.
No, not at
I'll,
all.
I'll give them that much. It didn't feel like that, but I'm also, how much would this work without dialogue? I doubt it. And in a way, I'm still happy with what we did get, because there are still quiet scenes which just the animation tells the story and you don't need anything else. And they do let the animation tell the story at the various points.
There's
And I think
to
I think
that
the
I will
dialogue is,
say I
hmm
do want to say to that, like you say, there's a few moments where they let the animation tell the story, and I do agree with you. There is, but there's one or two moments where it's like they used pop songs, and I'm like, man, don't do that. Like this was such a good moment,
that's
and the pop song kicked in, and I was like,
That's
like you were
something
so
that I
good.
was kind of. That's something I want to say. Are those pop songs original, or are those like licensed music?
I think they're licensed. Don't quote me.
Yeah, because maybe it's my non-American talking, or the fact that I don't really care for music. I love music, but not to the point that I'll hunt down any new hit that's coming out. So
That's fair.
if this is licensed music, first time I'm hearing it. I have no idea.
Uh, no, they might have been made for the film. They may not be licensed actually.
Hmm. Well, either way, I get what you mean. Personally, I don't mind them because I like pop as a music genre, but
That's fair.
it's like it's one of the. I get what you mean, that again, I think when it comes down to, at least with me, this is the guy who did How to Train Your Dragon, so maybe you expect more of that theme song. Like if those
Mm,
things happen with Test Drive, for example, instead of Enter Pop Song here, it could have worked better.
yeah, no, I agree. Like, and I think that's what makes How to Train Your Dragon very special and somewhat unique for a lot of people is that something like Test Drive, you can feel something like Test Drive, especially nowadays, right? There'd be a pop song over that, and I will say, like, to this film's credit, this music isn't a pop song; it was just made for the film, but it does kind
Hmm.
of have that pop song feel.
Yeah,
And something I personally enjoyed a lot about How to Train Your Dragon, right, is that it never uses any pop songs. It never does any like actual singing. It's all just thematic music
I
for the
think
film and
the
everything.
closest that we get is in the second one at the start, but that's really
Yeah,
only it. Mm.
but especially for the
So
first film, right? Like it's all
yeah,
music, designed for the film, and it's all very thematic and everything, right?
and yeah, and even with the second one that I brought up, it's still a song that's made for the film. It's not, you know. The other thing I wanted to bring up though is, so talking about the story though, I
Mm,
one of the things I love about this is that again, you kind of feel like, oh, I know where this is going. I think I figured it out, but to me at least, they kept throwing these kind of not necessarily twists, but they did stuff that I wasn't expecting. Like, let's say another thing that I kind of like is that they don't shy away from showing you that Rose is the one that killed, the
Bright Bill,
Black Bills. Yeah,
Bright Bill, not Black.
yeah. Sorry,
All right.
I'm still getting used to the names. Okay, I know Rose because for some reason the name for the movie here is Rose the Robot for whatever reason. I can't tell you why. Which now makes me wonder if the book is named the same, but that's a whole other thing. So Um, so basically, when we're shown that she killed his parents, I'm like, oh shit! I just thought showing that this is the jungle. You don't really care. You don't really know, and especially because she doesn't even know where she is. She doesn't know what her purpose is. So I'm like, interesting, interesting. And then she starts raising this thing, and I'm like, oh, we are gonna build up to the thing that, it's gonna grow up, or maybe it's still a baby. It's gonna figure out that she killed its parents, and they're gonna have a fight, and there's gonna be the no, I didn't mean to, but and it's gonna be like, I don't want to talk to you, you tricked me. I was sure that this is again, it's gonna be this third act breakup thing, but they resolved it not even a halfway into the second act.
Mm.
And I was surprised by that, but also I was like, I wasn't objecting to it. That was actually interesting to show, because in a way this is kind of dealing with this message of parenthood that we have in this movie, that it kind of represents in a way the teenage angst, that at some point you at some point when you're a teenager, you're like, my parents don't know anything, I am just gonna take
Agreed. Yeah.
distance themselves from them and all of that. And it's like that, and that's really and again, that's really interesting way of showing it, because the next time Rose and I'll get back
Bright
bill
Bill.
back
Bright Bill.
Bright Bill, I'll so when Rose and Bright Bill interact the second time, is that when she's getting someone to teach him how to fly. And when he flies for the first time with the flock, he doesn't tell her that he loves her. She helps him out, and she's looking at him, and you can tell that there's this sadness, but there's also this, you can still tell there's some sort of uneasiness to it because of the whole thing. But you mostly attribute it to some sort of just teenage angst. It's
Well,
not like a whole thing that it's not a whole thing that is a liar revealed, for
Well, it,
example.
it is also that thing of like it's left unsaid, but they both have that same feeling, right? Like
Hmm.
that's like hey, this isn't said, but it doesn't need to be said, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing with it's said, but it's not need to be said. I really liked, the Fox guy that is just with them. And at first he's kind of an asshole. He's just doing this because it benefits him. But you can tell that he cares for Rose and he cares for Bright Bill. Like when the other ducks tease him, he's like, "Okay, one of you is getting eaten," and that's and I on the one hand, yeah, again, dark joke, but it shows that what these three are a family.
I think it helps
These
that it's played by Pedro Pascal, the new Golden Boy.
wait, yeah. To be honest, I might have some issues with him as a person, considering some
Fair,
stuff he said and did.
fair,
But
fair.
as an actor, he's great.
Yeah, no, like in here he does really great. There's a lot of like really good talent. Bill Nighy as Long Neck was so good.
Yeah, Bill Nye, and of course, also I didn't recognize Mark Hamill as the bear.
It I thought it sounded really familiar, and then I like heard him talk a little bit more. It's like, man, that voice. And then looking it
I
up, I was like, that's Mark Hamill. Okay, that's where I heard the similarity at. I thought I
yeah,
knew
it's
it, but I wasn't quite sure. Right? That was
yeah, again, there was something, but that's the thing that everyone's kind of really like. I won't say that I know. I am not even going to try to say her name because I'll butcher it up. But the actress playing Rose,
Lupita
I
Nyong'o, I believe is how it's
yeah. So
pronounced.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I
No, fair.
apologize. I don't want to butcher her name because she did such a good job
Oh yeah,
in
she
this
did a
movie.
great job as Roz.
She did a fantastic job. And again, you can tell that it's celebrities, but it's not celebrities who are just there for a paycheck and you can just say, no, no, no. They
Mhm.
gave a shit about these roles. They gave it their all. And it's just amazing to see and hear. And so there's all of that. And again, I just love there are so many scenes in that movie that just honestly I'm surprised how much this movie broke me. I'm not ashamed to say. Like when when Bright Bill lives with the colony for the first time, that
Mhm.
got to me. The whole thing with the whole thing again. Another thing that after he leaves with the colony actually, and there was the whole thing. When they kind of hid in the place where Rose is from, and then there was this whole action scene. I'm like, okay, interesting. And then we just cut to the jungle in the middle of the winter, and suddenly Rose has to kind of save all the animals and like bring them all to the shack to let them because it's a really bad storm. And I'm like, I don't really know. Did we really need this? And then they just turn it into the whole thing that what? This robot was rejected by every animal in the jungle. Not one person not one animal there gave her a chance. And she still went out there in the storm to help all of them with no benefit to herself. And that was really emotional. Like this was really good. This
But
was about
it's also really good because they don't shy away from the fact, right, that they are
yeah.
still wild animals and this is nature, and so all of them they are fighting one another and trying to eat one
Hmm.
another inside this very
And
place.
And there's also this entire thing where they say, hell programming isn't even to help us; it's to help people with, creatures that are not even a part of this jungle. But if she can be reprogrammed to help us, then you know what? Why can't we try and change our basic instincts for her? For her? And then I was already kind of ready. I knew I was gonna be a complete wreck once Bright Bill comes back after that,
Mm,
when they all wake up from the hibernation. And of course you can there was this kind of awkwardness there, because also long neck sadly didn't survive the encounter and everything. But then they also play into the entire thing of there's this evil robot standing coming in and going, "Oh, we wanted to bring you back. We hope that you didn't forget. We hope you don't mind that we're going to, look into your memories and stuff because we're." And I'm like, really? We have a villain now? But it still worked. It still
mm.
worked so well at the end, and like. And especially when in the climax, like when actually as cheesy as it could sound on paper, when she tells all the robots, "Well, I am a wild robot." That that
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
That was badass.
No,
That
it
was
works really
really
well.
good.
Yeah.
It worked really freaking well. I was surprised because you can tell that on if it was like in a Marvel movie with the name, it'll be like, yeah, this is like the audience cheer, not necessarily because it's a good line, but because it's you're connected to this character from the comics or something. This is like, this is earned. This shit is earned.
I do love though how you see like bits and pieces of her, right? Like become
Mhm.
more organic in
Yeah, like
nature instead of
with her
like,
leg.
yeah, with
Yeah,
the
with her
leg,
leg.
and like you see moss start to grow on her and things like that. And that
Hmm.
sticks with her, and like her design changes throughout the film a little bit.
Yeah, that too. And in the end, I think the part though at the end when it ends with them basically knowing that she went back to where she's supposed to be, but and she's supposedly been fixed and everything. But when Bright Bill shows up, she goes, "You can call me Rose." That's it. At this point, I was a puddle. I wasn't
Mm.
a human. I was a puddle. Uh,
No, I think we got to talk about it, right? Like favorite moment, right?
Oh my God, where do I be? Can I pick one? I can pick one.
I think
Um,
I think mine was definitely probably when Bright Bill's first leaving and he's taken off with the flock and everything, and
mhm,
Bill Nye's character Longneck, they tell him like, "Hey, follow me," and they do a flyby of Roz. Nothing's said, but they just do that flyby with that music. I
mhm.
think that was probably one of my favorites. Or when he's training with Ving
With the
Rhames'
eagle.
character with the Peregrine Falcon, yeah,
Yeah.
Thunderbolt.
Mhm.
That was also
Then
really good.
I think my favorite now that again there are a lot of great moments in this movie. We can do a whole podcast just for top five, and we won't get past all of them.
I think a third final
But
one with me is when we first see Bill Nye's character Longneck and him talking to Roz. I think that was also a great moment, like hearing that and seeing that as well.
yeah, well, I think to
So good.
me, it's I surprisingly enough, the climax really stuck with me because
Hmm.
you could argue that this movie didn't need a climax. Even I thought, like, really, we need a villain all of a sudden. We need, but
Yeah, honestly, that one's
it,
actually like this film would probably honestly, if you never even did like the evil robot, right? Like the squid like robot. If you never did that and it just, it's just Roz and the animals, I honestly would have been fine with that too.
Mhm.
But you're right, it
No, but
does
I
work
think
really well.
but it works well also because it shows that in some way, on the one hand, there's Rose, trying to, actually managing to bypass our programming and managing to defeat the evil robot while protecting Bright Bill, and Bright Bill saving her too. You know that he learned from Longneck how to the maneuver that they can break through glass
Mm,
when they were and he uses that was really cool. But then also the all the animals in the on the ground when the forest catches fire, and they actually manage to team up with this one beaver who's trying to get down this really big tree, and they also do their part in actually saving the forest, saving their home. That was really cool, and I just feel it played into the message into the movie really well, in my opinion. So I would put this at three. Number two would probably be the scene where Bright Bill lives with the colony, and Rose
mm,
helps him out. And then when she looks over there, and then she sees after because you see like she has this the three steps of feeding him, helping him to swim, get him to fly. So, and when she sees that getting him to fly is done, she's like, the objective is complete, but she doesn't care. She runs after him anyway. That was a really good moment.
yep.
But I think to me, my favorite scene probably is when the fox. I forgot the Pedro Pascal fox.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Fink.
Fink. Yeah. So when Fink tells everyone that that Rose did all of this for them, and that I'm not sure if it's in that scene in particular. Again, we've only seen the movie now. I've only seen the movie like now, so I don't remember everything to a T. But there is a point where they say, "Oh, it's is it when he's telling them the story at the end, where they say, that in a way, kindness would be considered a liability in the jungle, but she managed to turn kindness into her strength.
Yeah,
And into some way, something that can be seen as your weakness can become your strength in some situations. And to me, not only it's a very important message to someone like me personally, because throughout my life, people doubted me for so and so reason, but then again, in some instances, it showed that what people made fun of me for was actually my strength. And it helped me in my life more times than once. So it speaks to me in a very personal message. But I heard from the little reading I was able to do that this was apparently the main message of the original book, and that was like the one thing that Chris Sanders and the writer of the books were like, this has to be in there. Change whatever you want. This needs to be there. And I feel feeling this conviction to what the book was about, and I just want to make sure that the movie gets it across, and the movie shows that in a really wonderful way. I just think I have to give it my favorite moment. This is my favorite thing at
that's
the
fair.
end. Just
Really fair.
because I really think it's an important message from my own personal experiences in life. So, and especially, I think it earns that message because we see that this jungle is kind of messed up. Again, we mentioned the joke with the possums. Rose is the one that kills Bright Bill's parents, even if unintentionally. And there are a lot of other like very
But
morbid
they
sense of
also
humor moments in there.
they don't shy
So,
away either, right? Like if Roz hadn't have done
mhm.
that, Bright Bill probably would not have lived, right? Because he
Oh
was a
yeah,
runt of the litter and everything, right? Like that's another thing.
hmm, yeah,
Like it's explained to him very clearly, like you weren't meant to survive, and you did only because Roz helped you do so.
yep. So, for all intents and purposes, just a wonderful message to show and teach. And I think this is my favorite part of the movie at the end of the day, just where
Fair.
the heart is
No, fair.
that this
Absolutely fair.
robot did about.
And like you said, like you mentioned here or there, right? Like it is. There's nothing here that inherently surprises you per se. Like it is a very simple story, but it's done so well.
And even so, again, there's this point. There are the points where you're thinking to yourself, "Well, why?" I think, okay, I kind of know where this is going, but it still throws some twists your way that you may not see coming.
I personally didn't
So,
feel. I will say for myself personally, I didn't feel surprised by anything in it, right? But it was done so well that that doesn't matter. Like I still very much enjoyed the ride all throughout, right?
mhm.
Because
And
again, very
mm,
good film.
yeah, very good film. The sad thing is that I think I kind of covered everything I want to talk about
Well,
with it.
I think like you know something I kind of want to mention. Like apparently this only had a budget of 78 million, which I think is
Yeah,
wild because
yeah. Ha, wild. I see what you did there.
haha, unintentional. But like, I think that's amazing that they only did this with a budget of 70 million. I hope it
Yeah,
makes more
that's
than it currently is making because currently it's like it's made
yes.
back its budget, but it's not doing numbers right.
Apparently, it's not doing numbers, and honestly, I am a bit sad about that because, like, in terms of, don't get me wrong, I really like that movie, but like, you have Inside Out 2 racking up 1 billion. And it's not that the Wild Robot is doing terribly, but it's also not like a mega hit.
Yeah.
And I feel like it deserves to be.
Mm.
Like it's and but sadly it probably won't be because apparently it's already going on digital like next week or something.
I do hope though DreamWorks still does films like this, because this does, like, at least to me, I don't know about you, but
But
it
I
makes me feel
will
like
say that,
DreamWorks of old is still there, right, somewhat, and like still making
to be
really
honest,
good fucking films.
yeah, but to be honest, I think there's something. I think it was Shafrelis that said that in his review. DreamWorks never really left. You know, you can't really say that DreamWorks is back because DreamWorks never really left. They just
True.
have this thing that they make those bangers and then they make like one that's maybe okay or maybe not all that good, and then they make bangers again.
Well,
The
I,
film,
I
but
I will say it has felt like they've had a bit of a run of kind of and this has
yeah.
happened to DreamWorks in the past
Mm.
before, where they've had a
Well, to be
run of
honest, I haven't seen it yet.
eh.
I haven't seen it yet, but apparently the Bad Guys was really good, and you have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, obviously, which was fantastic.
Well,
I
before this though, we had the Kraken one and another one and
no,
another
the
one
Kraken
like
one was after
after.
Puss in Boots. Yeah, I think it
Well, yeah,
was
that's what I'm
after.
saying. Yeah, because like
And
before
Kung
Wild
Fu,
Robot, we had like the Kraken one, and I think it was
and there
two
was
other.
Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4 was all
Yeah.
right.
Look at our review for more info, but nah, it's like listen, it wasn't as good as the original three. That's
Mm,
all that I'm gonna say here.
that's fair.
Mm.
Like
But
there
and
had like, but I,
of
I will
course,
say like there had felt like there was a bit of a downturn for DreamWorks for a bit here. So it's
yeah.
nice to see that like we
But
get
to be honest,
we get a banger. I feel at least.
yeah. But then again, also, they had like the kind of a drought, and they had like a Shrek the Third, and then like what was it, B movie, I think. The B movie, I think, is memes aside, people do actually look back at it okay, as far as I remember.
It's not
And then
hated, but I don't know if
yeah,
it's not hated because of all the memes or because it was actually an okay film.
and then, but then they bring, and that's the other thing about DreamWorks that I'm gonna bring up. Then you have the Kung Fu Pandas. Then you have the How to Train Your Dragons, and I think the Wild Robot really captures that. Wow, this I didn't know what to expect with this, but this
Mm.
was amazing.
No fair. Like
So,
yeah, I came into this one not knowing not knowing anything about what I was going to get, and I walked away very satisfied personally.
mhm.
If you've not
So,
seen this somehow yet, you definitely should.
mhm. But apparently there is a sequel in the works now.
Hmm.
To be honest, I know that Chris Sanders is involved. For now, anyway. Things could change.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
it is a trilogy of books. Maybe there's like enough in the third book that they could do stuff
Maybe
with.
because yeah, because that's the thing. If if I were to know there's a trilogy of books, I'm like, oh, okay, so there's something to go for here. But now knowing that this one is apparently combining the first and second book, I'm like, okay, then so now it's also a question of, is the sequel going to be its own thing, or is it going to take elements from the third book
But
and mix it up a bit?
I think my
Uh,
opinion on this, right, is when you said there's going to be a sequel, you heard me go, that is
mhm.
kind of my opinion on this. I don't know if I
Yeah,
want one. Like, I'm interested, but
right.
at the same
Because
time,
there is the thing that we're always going back to with the sequel. What else is there to tell? Because you kind of told everything, but who knows? Like, if I were to do this, I would probably say, because like, okay, because Rose is back at her, at the place she was created at, and she's doing okay there, and Bright Bill is coming to visit her every so often. So cool. What are you gonna do to get her stuck in the wild again?
I will say, right, there was a part of me that, like, well, I mean, because in general, right, like, I feel like you're watching this film and you kind of, the way everything's portrayed, it definitely seems like, okay, I guess humanity's just gone now, right? Like that's the way it feels personally for a while
And
until finally you see the other
uh,
robot come in, and then you see Bright Bill and the rest of the geese, right? Go
yeah,
to
you
the
don't see humans
humans
until that scene,
place.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like for up until that point, I was very curious of like, is this a post-apocalyptic thing going on in the background where humanity's just gone, or and then we see that, and I'm like, okay, so I
Imagine if this took place in the same universe as Horizon Zero Dawn or something.
I'm not against that, I guess.
No, I'm just saying it as a joke,
No fair.
but that
No, but
that would have been that would have been some wild shit, I have to say.
so
But
maybe you can
no,
do more with like the humans, I suppose, but eh,
something. This is kind of a jokey thing, but considering it's DreamWorks, imagine if somehow this leads to the research lab from the Nine Realms in some way.
ugh, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too. Please, DreamWorks, don't do this, please. But
We don't need another a comet passed by the world and changed everything story.
you know what? The comet is the thing that destroyed the helicopter and made Rose drop in the forest. There you go.
All praise, all hail. It is everything.
Well, but okay. Jokes aside about this.
Bad jokes aside.
Um, you can, but that's the thing. I'm not necessarily saying put the humans on like a thing, but because there is like a very strong nature versus machine type of message in this movie,
Yeah.
which I'm all for the record. Okay, but I'm not saying this is a bad thing. But and I also think, with the whole entire thing of, she was able to overwrite her programming. She was able to adapt her programming into living in the wild and everything. What really comes down, what you can really do with this in a sequel? Maybe actually talk about the fact that, yeah, what if the humans find out that she is a bit more advanced? What would that mean when you could really do a research into the usage of AI with this?
Yeah.
And and again, keep in mind, I'm not sure if what I'm saying right now has been done in the books or not. I
Mhm.
have zero clue, but it is something you can possibly delve into if you have to continue the story. Then yeah, what do the humans who developed Rose actually do now that their robot has evolved beyond its initial programming?
It definitely feels like it would be a lead up to, okay, they got Roz back and they got and they have the knowledge of the fact that, right, like she learned how to speak animal, quote unquote, right? Like she learned how to translate
Mhm.
that, something that she shouldn't be able to do, but she was able to do. And how like they would have the fact that like her programming did develop and change from what it should have originally been. Like they have like the humans in this world have that information, right? So it definitely feels like it would be a build up to where they go with that, as well
Mhm.
as like I assume getting Roz back to the wild, and that's
Yeah,
like the
because
end point.
obviously the wild robot is gonna end with the robot has to go back to the wild at some point. But the question is, why would she when Bright Bill is kind of always coming to visit?
Mm,
So why would she be back into the wild? And this is something that I'm thinking but that's the other thing. This is just my creative brain thinking here. Maybe the humans send her back there in order to get her some intelligence on what the life there actually is. What if because imagine if they are trying to like train animals or something, send the robot there who is bonded with the animals to get information.
mm.
But that's no here no there. That's just the ideas that we're kind of throwing off
True.
on
Like
the
it's
wall
definitely one of
because.
the things. Like it's interesting. I'm curious about a sequel to this, but I am still sitting here very much feeling like it doesn't need one. You don't need to do this. Like I'm happy that it's getting one because that at least tells me like, okay, it did well enough that you're willing to do this, which is great.
Hmm.
It does deserve it, but it definitely feels like this is one of those films that can just stand on its own. It doesn't need anything else after.
Yeah. Now, what they're gonna do with that, that's a whole other thing. But also interestingly, that they're not necessarily trying to jump this into anything. They just said sequel for now. If they're already in the plans of trying to turn it into something more than just a movie franchise, like
I
if they are
hope
planning a
not.
TV. Yeah, because if they're playing like a TV series or
Like,
something,
do
this
a
is the point
sequel,
for a movie.
fine. I don't need anything else. I would rather not get anything else. Like, sometimes it's okay to just have the one film,
Yeah,
maybe
the
a
one
sequel, and
movie
that's it.
that yeah, because I know that a lot of people were clamming up for a Megamind sequel, and look how that turned out.
Mm.
For the record, I know that this is a TV show and shouldn't be compared, but at the same time, you know what? They advertise it as Megamind is coming back, so you know what? So
Fair,
you know fucking what? Yeah,
fair.
don't do a Megamind 2. That's all I'm gonna say. So in terms of what for a sequel, I don't really know if I have any ideas yet. But then again, I'm not the one in charge. And you know what? If anyone listening to this has read the books, let us know what you think would be interesting direction to take from the books. I'm
Mm.
actually curious.
Like I said, like, definitely,
Now,
definitely curious.
mhm. But back to the Wild Robot itself, amazing movie. I am so
Agreed.
happy I saw it. Is it the best DreamWorks movie made? I am not sure yet, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely among their best.
I I would agree. Yeah, I think it's definitely a high up there DreamWorks film. It's not replaced number one for me personally for DreamWorks at least, but it's still way up there.
Yeah, I won't say that it would replace my number one or and my number two, probably, but you know what? It's definitely up there in the top five, maybe.
Yeah.
Again, time would tell, but this is, I think, another strong point. When
Mm.
I'm saying time will tell, I think this is a movie that's going to withstand the test of time for a lot of people. Like, imagine if you're a kid seeing this, you could probably get so much more out of it as an adult.
True. Yeah. I definitely think this is a movie you're going to hear people like talking about more and more as time goes on, right? Like it'll get more and more of a cult following. I feel.
Yeah, I really hope. And again, whatever, if they are going to make this sequel, and whatever comes out of this, I'm curious. I'm
Yeah.
definitely interested. Like DreamWorks has my attention on it.
Agreed.
Well, anything else to say, or did we just wrap everything
No,
up?
go watch the film if you haven't somehow yet.
Yeah, go watch it. Then again, if you haven't watched it, why the hell are you here in the spoiler section? That's kind of we're gonna spoil the whole thing. But
But
yeah,
you'll still
if you're
enjoy it.
interested, but yeah, definitely great movie, highly recommended. And I guess we'll see you in like 4 years when the sequel comes out, give or
Hmm.
take. Well, with that said, that's all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on the wild robot? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So until the next episode, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.